I double my money. Might be illegal.
This video isn't real, obviously. Neither is this one. And you probably knew that. But they look pretty realistic, right? Well, I bet you'd be surprised if I told you that it was all down to just one simple trick. Well, it is. But before I can reveal the big secret, we need to know some of the history behind it. All the way back in the 1800s, a French filmmaker named Georges Méliès was filming street traffic in Paris, and his camera suddenly jammed. Once he'd got it running again minutes later, the traffic had of course changed, and upon reviewing the film, it appeared that a man had changed into a woman in the shot. From this, Méliès discovered how stopping the camera at one point and resuming it at another resulted in a jump cut when put together. In his case, if two people were in similar positions at the time of stopping and starting, a sort of magic trick would occur where one becomes the other. Before long, Méliès began to use this trick to his advantage, and from there it got its name, the substitution splice, or more commonly known, the stop trick. A good example that we can actually see is from a film named The Execution of Mary Stuart, produced in 1895 by Thomas Edison. The film was pretty short, and by pretty short I mean it was only 18 seconds long. However, it was the first known film to use some form of special effects. In the film, Mary is led to an execution block, and the axe is brought down upon her head. Here, the edit takes place, and she is replaced with a mannequin whose head is actually cut off and held up in the air.
You know, it looks relatively okay, but people didn't think that somebody had actually been decapitated. But they could appreciate it for what it was. It was trickery. It was kind of a magic trick in some way. We're kind of enthralled in the technique, the same way that we are now, really.
So, how is it done? Well, for a long time, people thought the camera needed to stop filming and then have the props or actors repositioned before resuming the camera. However, it was later found out that Méliès actually created a match cut of two different shots by just aligning the frames very carefully. This was of course back in the day of physical film in cameras, where the frames had to actually be cut and moved in order to create this effect. However, newer digital technology has made this process a whole lot easier. Thanks to this new digital era, an edit as simple as this, which would have been a much more difficult process in the past, can be done with pretty much any editing software, even something you can find on your phone.
Younger people are able to get involved in visual effects now in ways that, you know, I couldn't when I was sort of a teenager or younger, and that's because software hardware has become much more accessible. So you can get a laptop, it doesn't even have to be that high spec to run some of the software. So you can download a free program like Blender where you can do 3D modeling, you can do video editing, you can do motion tracking, visual effects, you can do 2D animation in it, and it's free, it's accessible, and people are doing it.
It only takes a few seconds to create a cut with minimal experience required. All that needs to be planned is the setup during filming to create the seamless transition. This is something that a few creators have made names for themselves with in recent years, creating viral videos online using this very method. So who are the masters behind these viral videos? This is Zach King, a creator who became famous on the social media site Vine in 2013 and has gained over 50 million followers on TikTok to this date. Zach took the concept of the stop trick and evolved it from Méliès' use in films into his own, more internet-friendly style. Take a look at this. Amongst other visual and technical effects, Zach keeps the idea of the stop trick at the heart of his videos to create visually impressive pieces such as this one, where he seems to turn a tomato into salsa and some corn into tortilla chips. The production has wildly increased over something that Méliès would have done in his time, thanks to the new digital editing software.
the nature of the stop trick being, you know, quite short and contained, lends itself really well to the medium of social media, because it's kind of a quick fix. You know, it's a simple trick and it's done, it's enjoyable, and you know, it makes you appreciate the effort and the time that's gone into it.
Another creator whose rise in popularity came as a result of his digital stop trick work is Kevin Parry. Kevin is a stop motion animator and visual effects artist who creates similar videos to Zach King, where the stop trick is the main basis for his ideas. For example, you saw the snow video in the beginning where he somehow turns himself into snow on a table. Or how about this one where he falls on the floor and turns into balloons? This tutorial shows us how Parry uses masking to hide the original footage, and then replaces it with another shot of the floor. He then blends the frames of each shot together to form the effect, as if he was actually turning into balloons. This is a pretty clever trick that you may not have thought of, but makes the edit actually look realistic. The concept of the stop trick remains as a foundation that the project is built upon, and other methods such as masking and small hidden transitions help to really finalise the edit. How important do you think creativity is when it comes to these sort of video edits?
It can be important. I mean, it is important to be creative, but I think there's a fine line between showing off your editing skills and trying to tell a story well. I think in some cases an editor can get lost in basically showing what they can do. I think the psychological aspect of when to cut, how to cut, what kind of transition to use is more important than just being really creative and showing off a lot of flair.
Both these creators have proven that the drastic improvement in technology and video editing in recent years has enabled almost anyone to be able to create these types of videos. All you need is an idea. Now, this is a topic that I've been pretty interested in for a while now, so much so that I even tried to make my own stop trick effects a few years ago. They were a decent first attempt for my age at the time, but they really sparked my interest in video editing and effects. So, with my new and improved knowledge of this effect, I thought I'd try and put myself to the test and make some new ones. For this first one, I thought I'd try and recreate the grabbing an item out of the screen effect. This was pretty easy to do as it was just a jump cut, where I lined up my position before and after grabbing the shoe. Just to finalise the look, I added some camera blur and a mask on my hand to make it look like it was moving fast while grabbing the shoe, as this would somewhat hide the cut. I also wanted to try and do some more masking for another effect, so I set up this scene where I was making myself disappear under the covers. I masked out my body where the covers ended, and the effect does look a bit odd in some parts, but it's definitely an improvement over my previous work. I guess it was thanks to my access to actual editing software, much like the development of the stop trick throughout the years. From its first cinematic uses in films in the early 1900s, to the newly popular Vines and TikToks of the 21st century, the substitution splice remains an important piece of video creation. Its resurgence through these online videos and relatively simple editing styles means that anyone can give it a go.
Loving the fact that the stop trick is becoming so popular again and people are being really creative with it. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think if Georges Méliès could see what he had sort of, set a trend for, I think he'd be amazed, and I think he'd be, pretty proud of the results that we see now.